Given to two of our outstanding IU employees, Cindy Davis for outstanding paraeducator at the Clairview School, and Miss Holly Tonkin received the Annie Sullivan Award also at the Clairview School. At which time, after we introduced those, they told us a little about themselves, and we adjourned at approximately 7:33, and no business could be conducted due to the lack of a quorum. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bertuzzi, would you mind if I, Mr. Bertuzzi, would I skip to Dr. Harris right now? Wherever Nick is. Okay, I'm going to pass on right now to Dr. Harris. I think for our audience, he has some comments to make that I'm sure will be most interesting for you.
Right, I just have some comments. I know I have the solicitor talk, and Scott's going to speak about, the different, that's right, I'm allowed to, I'm sorry. Different comments about the timeline, and I wanted to give my chance to kind of go over the concerns that I've been receiving from the parents as well, and then give a chance for the solicitor to talk and Mr. Inglaze. And then we're going to turn it over to the visitors, which we have 20 signed up to speak tonight.
Can I, excuse me, I have to mention, at 5:15 we did have, a meeting, an executive session, in which the school board met at 5:15 to go over negotiations, litigation, and personnel. So that was held. Thank you.
All right, the most recent updates are Health and Safety Plan went into effect July 28th. This plan originally was supposed to be board approved August 9th. However, due to the information presented during the meeting, the board decided to table the vote for a following week and to send out a survey to gather information from the parents. This survey was sent out, and about 70% of the parents wanted masks as optional for their students. The Health and Safety Plan was formally approved at the August 16th, 2021 board meeting by a vote of 8-0. The plan stated that in the absence of state mandates, masks would be optional. It also stated that the district would follow any mandates issued regarding face coverings. On August 31st, the governor announced an order signed by the Pennsylvania Acting Secretary of Health requiring face coverings to be worn in all schools effective today. On Friday, September 3rd at 4:08, PDE sent out an updates to the frequently asked questions, which were supposed to be sent out to schools on the 2nd of September. I sent out the district info on September 3rd. I did contact our state representative since the 31st, George Dunbar, with concerns addressed from parents and the board. He has informed me that there was a lawsuit filed against the state, and the hearing will be scheduled on the 16th of September. I know that he will be heading back to Harrisburg on the 13th. Which brings us today. Today in school, we had two very peaceful protests, one at the high school, one at Sunrise. It was actually combined with parents and students. We did have 31 students, however, across the district try to come to school but left to not wanting to wear a mask. Which brings us to the main concern that I have received from parents is about not so much, I think, the order, but the process the PT is taken to follow the order. And that's what I want to turn over to Christina Lane, our school solicitor, to explain.
Good evening. I'm Christina Lane. I'm with the law firm of Malo, Brungo, and Malo, and I regularly attend Penn Trafford School District's meetings and work on behalf of the board and administration. So as a solicitor, my role here is to give the board legal guidance, not my personal opinions, certainly not my political opinions, but legal guidance. And the purpose of that legal guidance is to make sure that the school district is in its best possible defensive position, as well as in legal compliance with the mandates. I fully understand your dissatisfaction with the order itself. The timing of the order was horrible. The school districts received it, and then just prior to a holiday had to get everything in order, as well as sharing with the community, what it meant, what was going to occur when you came back from your holiday and back to your school environment. So, and I'm also aware of all of the exception requests and the opinions of those in the audience that perhaps the solicitor is not providing the correct legal guidance. I'm also aware that there are a multitude of blogs and websites and social media warriors that are all telling you one thing or another that they believe to be true. One thing that Penn Trafford can rely upon, I have an ethical obligation to provide them the correct legal advice. If I fail in that endeavor, yes, as you suggested, ma'am, they can fire me. But they also can, thank you, they can also go after me in malpractice. Those of you in the audience don't have such an obligation to Penn Trafford, so it's very easy to make such comments while you're sitting in an audience as this. But the difficulty is that the order, I read it as a totality. Those of you in the audience like to parse words, and you're holding on to one specific word. The totality and intent of the document is for a face covering mandate. Certainly nothing that the board put in place, and certainly not something that I put in place. There are limited exceptions to the order, but if you read the order as it's written, it clearly states that there is a general masking requirement. So first and foremost, we start with the proposition that all staff, teachers, students, and visitors to the building must wear a face covering. That's the first proposition. So if it was to really work, as you suggest, that there's an opt-out just because you say it's so, then what is the purpose of the actual mandate?
Excuse me, ma'am, ladies, people. We're going to respect the speakers. We're going to respect the speakers that come up and not interrupt them. So I'm going to ask for the same respect to people on this podium. Please let them speak. A 5-minute time limit? Yes. But not on the board. That's for visitors have a 5-minute time limit. And with 20 people coming to speak, we're going to be here for a while.
Does she live in the district? I do not.
That's not the issue. We hire a legal firm. We don't ask where they're from. But at the same time, would you please let our solicitor respond?
27th Street, Suite 210.
Yes. Good. I'm glad that we know that. All right, so I'm going to ask for the respect to the people on the podium that you would expect for us to give you when you come to speak. If not, then we will ask for a recess and possibly go to a virtual meeting. So we want this meeting to be held in compliance, but also with the respect that our district shows. And please don't disappoint us. Thank you. Okay, Christina?
I just wanted to explain to you that the requirement to review information, particularly from a student's perspective who are seeking a medical exception to the requirement, the district's obligation is to meet and find, are there reasonable accommodations? Can we meet those students' needs with an alternative face covering? That is the purpose of the 504 meeting that the district has shared with you. That the district isn't requiring more than what their policies currently state. If you refer to the board policy book, there are policies in the 100 series, and there's a policy 103 and 104 that speak to how those, whether it's an employment practice or educational practice, those students that may have particular needs to access the learning environment, and whether it's an allergy or a medical condition, the district has an obligation to meet with the parents, the student, and find those reasonable accommodations. And that's the same process that they are seeking to implement with the mask requirement. It's the same exact process that was utilized last school year. So there hasn't been a change other than we had that period of when the governor lifted the mask mandate and then shared with the Commonwealth that he had no intention of providing yet another mask mandate and then reverse course. So we all understand the angst and emotionality of this process. But the 504 requiring medical information from your student, your child's medical providers is in order for the district to meet that recommendation to provide the reasonable accommodations. The order clearly states that all reasonable accommodations must be exhausted to include the wearing of a face shield prior to an exception. So that's where I know there's been some dispute as to that 504, that kind of team meeting process, and that's where that comes from. Certainly, the district is a school district in the Commonwealth, has a requirement, a legal requirement to enforce the order. As far as, what could happen, they've made it very clear that that is the state's position on things, that the commissioned officers, who are your superintendent, assistant superintendent, could face issue with their commissions for failing to follow the order, as well as the entity, the school district as itself, could lose very legal protections from the potential of lawsuits if they were to ignore and fail to enforce the order.
Thank you. Is there anything else, Christine?
No, thank you.
Thank you for your consideration. I truly appreciate that. Dr. Harris? Dr. Harris?
I'm not gonna answer questions.
I'm sorry. People have signed up to speak, and I apologize with decorum that there will be people that will be speaking that may be addressing those issues. So please wait. Ma'am, you've had several questions. And we've been respectful. Can you please hold on while we continue with our meeting? Thank you. Dr. Harris?
All right, and also, one of the things I sent out at the end of that letter is I just kind of remind you, this is the problem I had last year that also creeped into this school year. It's the close contact. It's defined as a person he comes in contact with someone within 6 feet for 15 minutes, they have to quarantine. And it used to be last year, it started off at the beginning of the year, it was 14 days, and now it's down to 10 days. The trouble with our buildings, it's 6 feet, to sit 6 feet away from someone is virtually impossible. Our classrooms aren't designed that way. Our class sizes are rather large in some areas, and it doesn't make it conducive. This school year, when we started off the school year, we already have, according to the tracker, there's 10 active cases, and I asked Mrs. Popovich, and she said there's 176 students who were quarantined. To be honest, this is the only the 8th day of school. That's a lot of kids to quarantine. During the time that they're quarantined, they do follow off the Google Classrooms, and we provided online tutors. So, but I am saying that is an issue. But now that with the mask mandate, you can actually go to 3 feet. They said it used to be 6 feet. You can now do 3 feet. So the 3 feet, and I'm just telling you what the rules are, it actually is going to have less kids who are able to quarantine, because in a lot of our classrooms, you can sit 3 feet away. You just can't sit 6 feet away from anyone, and the students who are here today could vouch for that. It's just not possible, but the 3 feet makes it more possible. So there is a chance of having drastically less kids to quarantine. So I just wanted to bring that out to everyone's attention.
As a doctor, you don't question that. You don't question that.
I'm an educational doctor. Yeah.
I am sorry. We need to have order, and order.
But-
This is here for a
I'm
reason.
just- but this is
we
the-
have a lot of people that want to speak.
I do want to say one
but
thing.
Please let Dr. Harris
This
finish
is what we
on
have
this.
to follow. This is the guidelines they give us to follow. And then I'm just telling you about the 6 feet to 3 feet. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Right now, we're going to be moving. I want to move to our speakers at this time, but very simply, I want to encourage you educating your children. What are we showing our parents the way we react? How do I handle rules I don't agree with? What do you want to teach your kids? Challenge, absolutely. Challenge rules you don't agree with. Question them, absolutely. Protest, and again, in our community, we had peaceful protests. Fantastic. You're more than welcome. Please do. But then comes the point of compliance. And then we also have to teach consequences of behavior. There's consequences to behavior. There's impact on others. So there's consequences we need to be aware of. So at this time, Scott Bigler, would you like to come forward? And was Scott here? He had signed in to speak. We have a list of people that signed in. And very simply, so everyone understands, procedure for audience recognition, you must state your name, address, and group affiliation, if any. Your statement will be limited to 5 minutes in duration. All statements shall be directed to the president, and no participant may address or question a board member individually. You may be interrupted if your statement is considered too lengthy, personally direct, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. So at this time, Scott Bigler, you were the first to sign in. Scott's not here. All right, the next person was Anders Selvig, and I apologize if I mispronounced the name.
My name is Anders Selvig. I live at 1174 Claire Elliott Road. There's so much divide in our country at this time, it's disgusting. The worst part is how it affects our children. The children we entrust you with provided them a general education, while we are to train them to be good and responsible adults. It's come to my attention that kids who do not want to wear a mask in this school are being bullied, not just in the school, yet online as well. This morning at the school, I heard some very nasty remarks from some of those pro-mask children. One of these being, "What the F are you doing here?" Another, "Go the F home and get in effing school and wear a mask." The exceptions listed in this unlawful issued mandate are being denied to us. This mandate is from 1929 and deals with herpetogonosyphilitis and some other stuff like that. No way is this mandate valid in this case. Your solicitor added to it in order to make exceptions harder. In the mandate, it states the school is not to deny entry to those who wish not to wear a mask, and that you guys are to provide a holding. Yet my son and many others were pushed, well, not physically pushed, but told to leave this school. And they weren't given the option at all. You denied my son today. Do not do that again. If you're going to follow this illegal order, then fully follow it. I'm not sure if this is on something else. Anyway. I'm not sure if you have installed UV light filtration systems. In the schools, but I highly recommend you do so, especially in the bathrooms. It kills any airborne viruses. We know the school can afford it because between all the stimulus bills you guys received, $3.75 million, which is why you're scared of being penalized if you don't follow these orders, which I understand. I do understand that, but don't add extra stuff. My question is, if the district-wide, from all of this happening, has more than 1,000 students get enrolled in a charter school, they will take 75% of that away from you, and that's a lot of money. That's too much money for you to lose. And over 70% of parents, teachers, and staff want the mask to be optional as you passed. We deserve our freedoms, and I'm calling for those workers to rise and stand up, walk out. What will our great district do then when that finally happens, when your teachers and your students and your faculty, including your custodians, who do the nastiest job out of all of you, and I didn't know last time I talked to you that they weren't under a contract. I had no idea. But I know everyone here is having a hard time dealing with this. So if we're able to get along and we're able to fill out these forms, if we're able to say, it's religious purposes, because wearing these masks too long, as we have told you, creates breathing problems. It ends up making us breathe in too much carbon dioxide, and my body is a temple to God, and so is my child's, and they are not allowed to do anything. They're not allowed to smoke until they're 18 years old. So if we say it's for religious purposes, just give us the exemption, please. And please don't interrupt any more people, please. I want to get everyone through this.
Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. At this time, Mindy Sermats, please. Is Mindy here? Mindy Sermats?
I think she's coming down.
Oh, good. Nope.
I'm
Not
sorry.
coming down. All right, then Kyle Hembry.
Hello. My name is Kyle Hembry. I live at 545 Sunset Drive in Trafford. I'm here tonight with my wife, Tony Hembry, on behalf of our 8-year-old son who attends Level Green Elementary. I'm here tonight to offer up a challenge to this board to stand up and be the voice for our children and the majority of the parents in this district. You all did your job in voting 8-0 in favor of making masks in schools optional. Even with some pushback, you opted to send out a survey to all parents with children in the district, and an overwhelming majority still voted optional masks. I'm not here tonight to debate the validity of COVID. I'm here tonight to challenge this board to stand up for what is right. This country was built on some very basic fundamentals that we still hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Hopefully you all know the thing, right? We are a free country for now, and we have the right to choose. Right or wrong, we have that right. If you want to wear a mask, nobody is stopping you from your choice. And if masks really work, then you should be fully protected if my child is not wearing one. Masks should remain optional. This mandate is not based on any scientific facts that support a pandemic for our children. Speaking of facts, I'd like to share a few that are easily found on the internet. Forgive me while I got this information from a kooky right-wing conspiracy website, cdc.gov. Since January 4th, 2020 to August 28th, 2021, there have been 470 children aged 0 to 18 that have died with COVID. While one death is tragic and earth-shattering for a surviving family, make no mistake, 470 total deaths with COVID does not support the idea of a pandemic for our children. Masks should remain optional. While 470 is a lot of kids, the total U.S. population ages 0 to 18 years old from September 2020, 73,039,150. That's from datacenter.kidscount.gov, another government website. Again, this is not a pandemic for our children. Masks should remain optional. This mandate is fake virtue signaling about health and safety when there are no facts to back up a pandemic for our children. If they really cared about health, they would address the fact that bacterial respiratory illness in children has gone up primarily due to wearing masks for 8 hours a day. We won't know the true physical and psychological effect these mandates will have on our children for many years from now. Coronavirus, just like the flu, is not going anywhere. And as parents, neither are we. Masks should remain optional. I can go on and on about facts and data. It's truly boring. I assume most of you on this board have done their own research and asked their own questions because you are all affected by these decisions our government has made over the last year and a half. I challenge again. Will you stand up for our children and the parents of this district and say enough is enough? What side of history will you be on? Thomas Jefferson, one of our founding fathers, is attributed to a great quote, and I would like to end with this. He said, "When a government fears the people, there is liberty. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny." We as parents aren't afraid anymore. We stand for liberty and freedom. I ask every member sitting at these desks tonight, who do you fear?
Thank you very much. Now, you see why we wanted to listen to more people? It's important to give people an honest. Our role here tonight is to listen, for the public to voice their opinions, to voice your concerns, to have this open dialogue. And again, your respect to listen to each other is so vital. And again, we're learning stuff, aren't we? So thank you. At this time, Vance Porter. Is Vance available? Thank you.
To the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you in this setting today. I would like to start off by saying thank you for all of your hard work in educating our students, and two of my three children in particular during this tough time of the pandemic. I do not want your jobs, as they are difficult in these trying times, and I respect each and every one of you for taking them. I additionally want to say thank you to those who are in the schools and working at the front lines of the pandemic, especially the teachers and the principals. They unfortunately have to bear the brunt of parents' complaints. And for that, I feel for them. And I want to extend a solid thank you to each. Individually, I've watched my middle son's senior year, 2020, ruined by COVID. With no baseball, no prom, no graduation in July, and basically a drastic change to what his future plans were, as well as many of his friends. I additionally have watched my daughter, who is now a sophomore, class of 2023, go through school being closed for the end of her 8th grade year, and then a good portion of her freshman year changed, ruined with quarantining, online hybrid, in school 3 days a week, off 2 days a week, green days, gold days, and so on. And now, when she should be enjoying all of the activities that are not only learning activities, but we're building the foundation of our kids as they move into adulthood, she should be learning the necessary social skills that include various other student activities, including cheering at football games. By the way, I don't think I saw anybody here with a mask on Friday night at the game. Additionally, cheering at football games, seeing their friends' faces, teachers' faces, attending dances, and gaining senses of good behavior that help lay the foundation for a solid beginning to adulthood and her future. Today, unfortunately, my 10th grade honors student was removed from school with her not being offered education unless she unwillingly put a mask on, which she didn't. That said, I believe that we are parents, and you as representatives of us as parents, are being forced into decisions with no good alternatives. The state and the health department are working together to continue the ridiculous rules and consequences of the pandemic as they impose mandates. I believe that it is the school board's responsibility to stand up to those rules as our representatives and express and explain the want of the people to not be controlled. I, for one, believe that the masks that are being given out are not the answer. The masks are not personal protective equipment. If we were truly interested in stopping the spread, we would all be wearing the mask that I have here, which is known as an N95 mask, and it has to be fitted individually for every person who wears it. It's secure, doesn't work like the cloth, it doesn't have any bling on it, and it's difficult to put on and change your face, and it does a lot of different things. I would ask any one of you who are not in healthcare, like my wife has done for the last 2 years, to go through days with this particular mask on and a face shield and full dress of equipment in dealing with COVID people. I feel for her, and I feel for the nursing, and I feel for all those folks. However, if the board and the state really want to stop the spread versus control our children and us, maybe they should hand out N95 masks instead of paper masks and absentee ballots. If I have the time left, a couple of weeks ago we voted as a school community where there were 30.4% for masks and 69.6% for choice. Our choice, or my choice individually, is not to force any of those who wanted masks to take their masks off. My choice is to give everyone the option that they see best for their family and their children. I end with just a couple of questions, and those are as follows. If all of the kids are masked, do they no longer miss school because of quarantining and contact tracing? Additionally, is the school district and the state willing to sign guaranteeing the safety of the masks as given, that they, number one, stop COVID? Number two, that my child will not get COVID while at school. Number three, do not cause future respiratory problems. And number four, are not causatory to future mental health issues based on anxiety, lack of trust, speech issues, and so on. I want to say honestly, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your remarks. At this time, Jamie Petrone. Is Jamie here?
Okay, first I want to say that I'm not good at this at all, so please excuse everything. And I also want to say thank you for all that you do. My kids have always enjoyed going to school with Penn Trafford since we moved to this district.
Yeah.
I live at 210 Youghiogheny Street.
Excuse me,
and Penn-
Jamie, can you tell us where you live, please?
210 Youghiogheny Street, Penn, PA.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say thank you for everything that you guys do for my kids. They had loved going to school, and now with this mask mandate, they are just dreading it. Like, they were upset last night. They were so worried about coming. And then my daughter, she's in the high school. My son, he goes to Harrison Park. My son has some very strong opinions about the masks. He thinks they should all be thrown in a fire pit and burned. And my daughter, she said that there was protest, but she doesn't want to speak because there's a divide with the kids that want to wear masks, the kids that don't want to wear masks. They feel like they have no power to, it just caused division between both of them. Sure. And let me see, I wrote these like here, so please forgive me. Okay, so I'm also a healthcare professional, and I had worked with COVID, so I know what goes on with the COVID situation. I've never received COVID because I have a strong immune system from dealing with sick individuals, and I feel like when we're doing these masks, we're masking their immune system. We're also masking their emotions. They can't look at each other, smile. You know, my son, he has a hard time, even with the face shield. He would have the face shield on, it would be blocking his vision, it would get foggy, he'd have to pull it down, look. And I mean, we were at the Rib Fest, we were at Kennywood, like we did all kind of stuff this past Labor Day weekend. Nobody had a mask on, nobody. And the people that did, there were maybe, I might have saw 2 or 3 people that did. That should be their individual choice. Like, we still live in America. We should have that freedom of choice. We shouldn't feel empowered to wear a mask and cover everything up. So, let me see what else I have to say. I'm sorry. I just feel like it would cause a lot of like childhood trauma. When you look back at your memories, you want to have good memories. You don't want to feel like everything was masked, like you weren't allowed to have an opinion. If you had an opinion, you were right, you were wrong. People felt a certain way about you. And I feel like we all need to come together as a team, as one, to do what's best for these kids because they need a voice. And it's been very emotional for all of us, I'm sure your end and our end. And I just want my kids to be able to breathe, because when you learn, you need to be able to breathe. You can't concentrate. When you're trying to concentrate on breathing, you're not paying attention to what the teacher's saying, you're not able to focus. I just want you to have some kind of consideration. And also, I have friends in other school districts that are allowing the kids to show up with no mask, but they are taught in a different room, which is also like a form of segregation, but at least they're giving them that option to be taught in a separate room. I just feel like we need to do what's best for these kids.
Well, thank you very, very much.
That's all I can think of right now. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay. And also, the secretary, has she been sworn in yet? Like, how is she making rules and she's not sworn in, as far as I know? The acting secretary of health.
Do you have a response on that?
Is she sworn in?
There is a court case September, I believe, 16th in Harrisburg that is being addressed by one of our senators as well as parents. So that court case is being held in Harrisburg, I believe, September 16th, to answer that question. So it is being challenged.
Okay.
Again, my comments, we have a right to challenge, to protest.
Yeah, I mean, I understand you guys are in a pickle, but it's like we all need to come together and try to help our kids.
Agreed. Totally
Give them the
agree.
better future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Do
you.
you have any other notes? You sure? Don't want to leave anything out.
You know what? I don't think so. I'm not good at this stuff.
You did well. Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys got a hold me. I can't hear real good. Okay, at this time, Mr. Mike Morocco.
I'm with my people. I know I'm with my people, so it's just whatever, right? Good evening. My name is Mike Morocco. I live in 1088 Government Road. I have 3 wonderful kids, 2 of which are been proudly named Student of the Month, and I was able to participate in that, which was one of my wife and I's highlights. Just a little past. I was a student of Sunrise Trafford, graduated from Penn Trafford back in '94, I believe it was. My great-grandparents owned a farm on Pleasant Valley Road until the turnpike came through and divided their property. My grandmother actually attended school in Harrison City in the one school room house and walked every morning uphill both ways. My mother was born in a log cabin from the 1800s off of Government Road, attended school in Paintertown. So when I tell you I have roots here, I think I could say that and have some confidence. It was incredible though today. So we came together as a group to protest, and things went as smooth as possible. And then I was able to make it less than a block up to my home, and I'm praying to myself and thinking, something's going to show itself. And immediately I'm confronted with all of my people by a line of cones that were neatly placed 16 inches across. And I had to ask, well, is this normal everyday stuff here? Oh, no, it's not. Okay, so what are we keeping out then? What are we rooting out here? Well, this is all our community, and there's a line of cones, and something miraculously happened was Mr. Harris agreed. And he says, what do we do? And he picked up the cones, and he took them back. And at that time, that was a defining moment that I realized what the outlook was at that particular school run by that particular person who I won't mention names. But there is a divide here from the community that's been here forever. I always hear, well, I moved here from out of state, or I moved from this city, or I moved from this county. And I feel like the divide is we all know each other here. I can look up at that board, and I have huge roots with this community. I have huge pride with this community. And our wonderful solicitor made an amazing comment to me. I put you in the best defensive spot. Would you hire a football coach that said, hey guys, today I'm going to put you all in the best defensive spot? That's how we're going to get through this, the defense. How about offense? Right? But that's a no, right? It's a no because it's too whatever it is. I don't think it's working, ma'am, to be quite honest with you. No disrespect. But I'm tired of hearing about how we should act and the stresses we need to put on our kids when things don't make sense. 16-inch cones don't make sense. And someone came up and said, you're right. It doesn't make sense. Let's change it. We wear masks, excuse my French, half-assedly around the school so that we can attend school. It's no secret. I mean, you have everything from scarves to, what are we doing here, guys? What are we doing? What are we teaching our kids? Hey, if you got to do it, just get by until the next rule comes down. And hopefully, if we all pull together, we'll have a season next year. Once again, where we can be in the best defensive position. Awesome. PT pride. I feel it. Really. You know, I'm here to tell you all, I thank you all for serving. I truly do. I know you guys go through it. I know you take it on the chin. I've met some of the most wonderful people in this township teaching my kids, but not one of you have the qualifications to determine what is right for my child from a healthcare perspective. I'm sorry. I love the eye rolling, by the way. It's incredibly respectful, ma'am. But anyway, I digress. I don't care how many acronyms, I don't care how much schooling you've all gone through and who the people we hire to tell us the right thing to do. When things don't make sense, they don't make sense. When are we going to have the courage to stand up and put an offensive plan together so that our kids can be normal for a year? When? You know, one more point. They say you kill a frog not by jamming it in boiling water, but you put it in cold water and you keep cranking the heat little by little. You know, someone up there has to have the courage to say, listen, this is another little temperature raised on the heat. Where is it leading to? And I love what you guys do. I applaud you. But if you don't have the courage and you feel you're operating under fear, then stand down. With respect, thank you.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mike. And knowing Michael, I want to again thank you for your service. And incidentally, his name's up on our wall of honor. If any of you have family members that are service, have served in the military, we have a wall of honor right by the front office. Turn their name, maybe you're one of them. And it's a beautiful wall that's there. And Mike, know your name's on it. Thank you very much. All right, at this time, Erica Kurt. Oh, Urick, I'm sorry. I put my glasses back on.
Good evening. I reside in Level Green with my husband and children. We have 2 students at Trafford Middle, 1 in 8th and 1 in 6th. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be standing here pleading for the ability for my children to breathe freely. Regardless of their existing medical conditions, all of which have been documented and treated for by you, the Penn Trafford School District, my children should be able to breathe freely while obtaining an education. Every single one of you sitting up there with your mouths covered know how difficult it is to breathe in a mask. Right now, you're struggling to breathe. Your upper lip is wet. Your nose is sucking in the fabric of your mask. And if you have glasses, your hot breath is fogging them. You really want to pull it down, but you don't want to do it in front of us. As soon as you're alone, as soon as we leave this room, you'll whip it off, thankful to be able to breathe again. Per the FDA, disposable face masks such as surgical or medical masks are not respirators and do not protect the wearer from breathing in small particles, gases, or chemicals in the air. This includes COVID. Per the FDA, face masks may slow the spread of COVID. Here we are nearly 2 years into this, and the best they can say is face masks may help stop the spread of COVID. Do you know why? Because they haven't confirmed that it stops the spread, because no studies have proven that it does. None, as in zero. There have been 0 peer-reviewed or control group studies that have proven masks are effective against the spread of COVID. What studies do show is that masks are incapable of preventing a user from inhaling COVID particles, which are 40 times smaller than one subsection of hair. Masking our healthy children serves absolutely no purpose. For over 18 months and into our 3rd year of school, we have treated our children as lepers. Forcing masks on our children is child abuse, and please don't remain complicit. The decision is easy. Allow parents to make a decision for their children whether or not to wear a mask. We've seen the same scripted message, email after email, stating your concerns are with personal liability. We understand the pressure, but you need to stop cowering. Simply allowing Governor Wolf to circumvent we the people, stripping him of power to mandate masks, allow the government to take the job we elected you to do. If you stop fighting, it's clear that our children are not first. If you're not going to fight or look out for the health of our children, we are. 4 of you are up this November, and I can promise you that there are like-minded parents who will continue to fight for the rights of our children to breathe fairly and let parents make the best decisions when it comes to their health if you fail to do so. If it's the solicitor discouraging your fight, I'm sure you all know how to find a new one. Please don't stop fighting for our children. I can promise you there's no one better poised to make health decisions for my children. I have birthed them, raised them, sheltered them, and nurtured them. I have laid on a floor next to my son with migraine so bad that he viciously vomits for hours. I've seen my daughter through 2 eye surgeries, her first at just 6 weeks old, for severe ptosis and Marcus gun jaw winking, both disorders that you couldn't spell and probably have never heard of. I have woken every 2 hours to give her breathing treatments as to not wake her due to severe bouts of asthma. I've spent nights in the hospital because her oxygen has dropped into the 80s. I've popped dislocated elbows back into place. I've taught her to put medicated ointment in her eye every 2 hours to keep it from drying so severely that her cornea could be permanently damaged. I have held her broken teeth in my hands as she spit them there after taking a soccer ball to the face. I have fought and will continue to fight for my children. But the truth is, we shouldn't have to be begging for medical exceptions. The same pressure that you feel, the same threats to your retirement, the personal liabilities, the doctors hear the same thing. Government is coercing all of you to not do what's in the best interest of our children. Would any of you sitting up there be comfortable signing a form telling me that masking my child is safe? I'm certain the answer is no. We're done being silent. We will fight, and we will fight loud. We demand the board hold a vote to follow Department of Order as it states that parents may simply state that their child has a medical condition or that the mask may create one. Nowhere within the order does it say we are required to have a 504 or an IEP. We also want a policy amendment that prohibits any child not wearing a mask to be denied entry to the school or to be removed. Recommendations are not orders, not to mention the entire Department of Health order is not a mandate, nor is it a law. This is clearly not about health and safety. After all, you've sent us all a message telling us that students would be refused entry to the school and forced to remain in a parking lot. It's about control, let's stop pretending. And as our board president stated earlier in the meeting, there are consequences, and the board will reap that in November. We teach our children to be leaders. It's time PT steps up and leads. They don't call us warriors for nothing.
Thank you. Very good. And at this time, Philip, you're it.
Thank you for letting me speak. I'm living at 708 Silvers Way. I'm a Christian father and husband. I have 2 children in the school. One has severe asthma, the other one gets headaches, severe headaches, and masks contribute to those problems. But first and foremost, I'm a Christian, and this has everything to do with this current situation. God is holy. He hates sin. He must punish it. He demands a perfect life from us all. No one in here can meet his standard. That's why he sent his son. To live a perfect life, to die a wrath-absorbing death, to resurrect from the grave and ascend into heaven and sit down. Whoever repents and believes in him gets united to him. So his perfect life counts for them, and they get forgiven of all their sins because he took all the punishment on the cross. But this is what it has to do. Christ ascended into heaven at the right hand of the Father. He is king. He rules. Any government that has power has derived it from him. All authority in heaven and on earth have been given to Jesus Christ, and everyone will have to stand before him. He rules. He reigns. And let me say this, Penn Trafford belongs to him. Every molecule he controls. and everyone will have to stand before him. But listen, that means Tom Wolf has to stand before him. That means everyone on the stage has to stand before him. And he, as us as a community, he put us here for a reason. He knit our kids together in their mother's womb so that we provide and protect for them. Now, if we're gonna send them here and Penn Trafford's not gonna protect them from these mask mandates, then we will. We'll take it and do it ourselves. God created us in his image. We can be creative. If you want to look into it, New Life Presbyterian will help if you have to. If people won't stand up and stop this tyranny, then we have a place for you to take your kids to do their homeschooling on the internet. Just ask me afterwards. But let me say this, and I'm done. It says in the Bible that all things were created through Christ and for Christ, and he sustains all things by his powerful word. Take a breath. You borrowed that from Jesus. Every last one of us. Also says, in him are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. So anybody teaching in here, anything truth in this school comes from Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, and the life. So for us to deny him, it's either you have Christ who created all things or you have chaos. And that's what we have in this country. That's what we have right now. Well, I lied. One more thing. I have to say this. Now, Tom Wolf, a man, and this would be controversial, it doesn't matter to me. He started his career as an escort at an abortion clinic. You telling me he cares about my kid's health when he don't care about the kid's health in the womb? And that's way more deaths than COVID that happened in PT or in Pittsburgh. So I don't trust the man. And Mr. Wolf, repent and believe in the gospel, or you will stand before Jesus Christ and give an account. That's all I got.
Thank you very much. At this time, Danielle Lang.
Good evening. My name is Danielle Lang, and I am a mother of 3 within our district. I live at 1021 Gregerson Road. I am here tonight to voice my concerns on the recent changes that the district has made because of the mandate by the DOH. First, let me start by saying, I feel for all of you. Our government is abusing you to enforce these regulations that they are refusing to enforce themselves. I spoke with the DOH last week, and they told me there is no repercussions for our schools if they don't follow the mandate. Article 1, Section 27 of the Constitution states, the people have a right to clean air. Forcing a child to wear a mask over their nose and mouth does not allow them to breathe clean air. Your mantra this whole time as a board has been we only follow mandates, not recommendations. What happened this time? Section 3 of the mandate states you need an exception, not a doctor's note. You have chosen to use 504 of the Rehabilitation Act to justify that. With that, you are elected officials that choose to be on the board. If you do not have the courage to stand up and fight for our children, then you need to step aside so that those that have the courage can do it. And with the 8-0 board vote for optional mask, we know where you all stand. This isn't the time to put yourselves first. This is the time that you put your community first, and we come together and we fight together for what is right for our children. And from your survey, your community clearly spoke out for optional masking. I have 4 important points that I would like to make. You have stated in your email that you are afraid to lose the protection of sovereign immunity and may personally face lawsuits for those that ignore the order. I understand that. Why are you not afraid of being sued because a child that wears a mask all day comes down with one of the following 32 health issues? I'm not going to read them all, but if you would like them, I can provide them all to you. I will name a few: RSV, depression, anxiety, cardiovascular disease, a higher predisposition for viral and infection illnesses, headaches, accelerated aging, and health deterioration. My second point, we received $2.3 million in COVID relief funds. What improvements to our schools have been made as related to the COVID pandemic? I don't see classroom air purifiers with the ionizing technology or the UV lights installed in the ductwork. What has been spent on to make our schools better for all viruses as we move forward? This isn't the last virus or the last variant. My third point, why did we take away the virtual learning option or hybrid option? You have now left us with the option of school with masks, homeschooling with us, those that work can't do that, or the PA cyber program. Why shouldn't we be offered virtual learning or hybrid? Why not spend some of the $2.3 million and put cameras in the classroom so they can be live streamed and our kids can get the same education as if they were in the classroom? There would be no additional work for the teacher. It's one class, live streaming, and our children can learn the same as if they were in the building. My fourth point, in 1975, the Pennsylvania Child Protective Services Law, or CPLS, was enacted, and it really kind of goes against where we are today with the pandemic. The goal of the CPSL was to protect children from abuse and to allow the opportunity for healthy growth and development. Child abuse is intentionally knowing or recklessly doing any of the following. The law lists about a dozen or so acts, but for this purpose, I will only address the relevant ones. Causing or substantially contributing to serious mental injury. Law defines mental injury as something that renders a child chronically anxious, agitated, or socially withdrawn. Also seriously interfering with a child's ability to accomplish age-appropriate development or social tasks. And the next point is interfering with the breathing of a child. I don't think I need to explain that. In the state of PA, under the CPSL, there are mandated reporters. I'm sure that you know what a mandated reporter is, but it's someone the law defines as a person required to report suspected abuse. Who is considered a mandated reporter? In this instance, our teachers are. They are now liable for allowing this abuse to our children. In closing, I am asking that you change your stance of requiring the doctor-signed exemption form and accept a parent email like many other local districts. If you cannot change your stance and have the courage to do so, we will all gladly accept your resignation, and those of us that want to fight will. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. At this time, Sarah Bottlebaugh, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Close? Okay. Sarah, that got it. That was easy.
My name is Sarah Bartlebaugh. I live at 116 Stony Creek Lane in Harrison City. I would just like to reiterate this. I am not fighting to ban masks. I am fighting for parents to resume control of the decisions related to their children's health, right where it belongs. My child's health decisions do not belong in the hands of the government. At the end of May, the CDC published a large-scale study of COVID transmission in American schools. One very important finding was absent from the summary and not widely reported. Distancing, hybrid models, classroom barriers, and, most notably, required student masking were found not to have a statistically significant benefit. Florida provided a real-world observational study over the course of the school year last year with 40 districts with mask-required policies and 27 without. The result was no statistical difference in school cases per enrolled students in person. On Friday, the CDC released a report which included new data on the rarity of pediatric deaths from COVID-19. The report examines trends in COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and emergency department visits among children between August 1st, 2020 and August 21st of this year. It found that the rate of pediatric hospitalizations for COVID-19 that resulted in deaths was just 0.4%. Masks can also be damaging to the social and emotional well-being of children, as we've heard. It is important for children to see facial expressions of their peers and the adults around them in order to learn social cues and understand how to read emotions. My daughter has speech IEP. She needs to see the process of how words form, not just for 25 minutes one day a week, but all day long. You yourselves and myself take down our masks to communicate, but my daughter is expected to learn speech development and advance her progress with a mask on all day. I have shared with you some important data that makes optional masking the only solution, and now I want to speak from the heart. I have always been proud of the Penn Trafford School District. You kind of have gone against the grain a little bit when it was in the best interest of our children. Last year, you did everything in your power to ensure our children received in-person instruction when many other schools did not. As a parent, I really appreciated that, and I sang your praises to anyone who would listen. Dr. Harris, I have to give you credit. You have responded to every email I have sent in a kind and professional manner. I appreciate that, especially as my emails are not filled with sunshine and roses all the time. But I have to say, I'm sure the last email, as we know now, to all parents generated a lot of criticism, and rightly so. Not anywhere was there any mention of the school district working around the mandate, whether it be with our local representatives, etc., in an effort to institute optional masking. You said that you had talked to Representative Dunbar here, but why not include that in the email to all parents? And not only that, if a student does not comply, they will be forced to be removed from school by their parents. After reading the email, my sense was that you, the school board, are just going to sit down and take it. Universal masking for all handed down by the governor and the DOH, and that we, the parents and our children, were also going to be forced to take it. I'm well aware that the school district needs money from the state to operate, but now you are putting monetary needs over the best interest of each of our students. Other school districts are working around the mandate. 30%, in fact, are working around the mandate in the state, i.e. not sending students home who do not comply. Now we need you to do the same. We need you to fight. We are depending on you. We need you to have the courage to stand up and put our students' best interests above all else. When will you say enough is enough and take the power away from the government and put it back into the hands of the parents? Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, Shannon Coakley, please.
She's not here, Mr. President. She texted me.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you. Diana Allen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Diana Allen. I reside at 24 Pheasant Run Drive in Export, PA. I requested that the solicitor be here this evening. I am glad to see that Ms. Lane could join us. I want everyone to know that we, the taxpayers, according to Mr. Brett Lago's email to me today, we pay that firm, we have paid year to date $67,108. $775 monthly on retainer and $115 per hour. I believe it is imperative that you, Ms. Lane, are at all of these meetings, being that our children's health is dependent on...
Excuse me, ma'am, we're not allowed to make
Okay,
direct comments.
I'll redirect.
Please,
I'll say,
intercept that.
Mr.
You
Harris
reported to
has,
me or whoever.
Mr. Harris has referenced Ms. Lane in his correspondence to me. I'm glad to see she's here today.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on.
Thank you.
3 weeks ago, I presented data, studies, and peer-reviewed medical information about the inadequacy of face coverings and the 0.0004% fatality rate of a person who contracts COVID-19. At that time, the board unanimously voted 8-0 in favor of optional masks. Prior to that, you sent out surveys to every family within this district, and they also overwhelmingly voted masks to be optional. You prepared the appropriate health plan, you submitted it to the state, and it was approved. Now I stand before you as the government continues to overreach its power. I hold in my hand additional NIH studies that support the facts that masks are not effective in the spread of aerosol containing pathogens. I said it 2 weeks ago, I will say it again. What you have done for the last 19 months to our children is nothing short of abuse. The mental, physical, and psychological damage in some cases will be irreparable. I am standing here speaking for those children who cannot fight for themselves. I am standing here speaking for the parents who lost a child to suicide because of mandatory lockdowns, isolation, quarantines, and governmental policies. The state of Pennsylvania continues to use our children as pawns in this political warfare. Governor Wolf knew he no longer held executive power for more than 21 days, so he circumvented the office and he put it through the Department of Health to push his agenda. However, the Department of Health does not require a physician's signature for exceptions. That was put into place by Dr. Harris and this administration. The Department of Order states reasonable accommodations must be made for those who state they have an exception. Penn Trafford is choosing forced medical documentation. I am here to tell you this. Students are not patients. They are healthy. They are not infected children. Stop treating school as if it's a hospital. We, the people, do not co-parent with the government. We do not co-parent with the Department of Health. We do not co-parent with the CDC, and we do not co-parent with this administration. We are no longer asking permission. We are telling you this is the end of mask mandates for children who choose not to wear one. According to the First and 14th Amendments, all humans were given equal educational opportunities in the United States of America. If you choose otherwise, we are prepared and ready to move swiftly with legal action. And I can promise you one thing, we will never stop fighting for the constitutional rights and health of our children. You will no longer inflict mental and physical abuse upon our children. The definition of child abuse, and I'm sure you're aware of this, as defined by the Pennsylvania Child Protective Services law states, fabricating, intentionally exaggerating, or inducing a medical symptom, disease, or treatment to a child is child abuse. Causing serious mental injury to a child through any act or failure to act is child abuse. Lastly, and most importantly, interfering with the breathing of a child. Do you know the last words that my daughter said to me as she got on the bus? I can't breathe. Those words have consequences. I am requesting that you change the medical documentation policy immediately. Our children will no longer succumb to your abuse.
Thank you very much. This time, Joseph Matthews, please come up.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Matthews. I am the father of 3 little girls who attend Sunrise Elementary. I am here tonight to speak against the policy of compulsory masking of our students. As we began preparing for this school year, we received the news that you, the school board, had voted unanimously to make masks optional. This was the correct decision as it reflected on the will of those who elected you. Your stewardship was tested as a number of individuals stampeded a board meeting, demanding that you change this policy. Once again, you acted in a manner that would befit a representative body. You asked us to vote on the issue. District-wide, the vote was overwhelmingly support of optional mask policy. It is at this point that all representative government has been thrown out. Our authoritarian governor and his administration have now by themselves decided masks are required in all schools. His decision flies in the face of the statewide referendum in which the voters of our community and our state stripped him of his authority. In fact, he had to go back into 70 and 90-year-old statutes in order to enact his latest authoritarian measures. Immediately following our king's decree, our superintendent, a person you picked to lead our district, immediately bent the knee. Schools should be run at the local level. That's why school boards exist. But if our school board is going to bow before these petty tyrants in Harrisburg, then why do they even exist as an entity? As for the masks themselves, the data is clear. In the school setting, they are ineffective at best and in general, a terrible impediment to the social and psychological development of our children. Unless you're going to provide N95 grade masks and form-fit them to our children daily, then the entire concept of wearing cloth masks is a joke. My final questions are simple. 1, will you stand up for us, your constituents? 2, will you act like the representative body that you were elected to be? And 3, will you stand in the face of tyranny and fight for the emotional and psychological health of our children? Thank you for my time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. At this time, I believe it's Nika Kendall. Hello. It was Nika, right? Or was it Nika?
Nika.
It was Nika.
We did this
Got it
last
right.
time.
I did that last time, too.
I feel like I'm pretty memorable. I don't know, though. Maybe not. All right. Hello again. What in the world is going on here? Why would you put out a survey asking for parents to weigh in on the mask requirement if you were just going to defy us anyway? The parents spoke. You were even impressed with the response rate. Didn't you say it was around 2,000 responses? That's incredible. So I recall that the survey concluded that not even a close to comparable majority ruled for an optional mask school year in every single building. Why did you even ask for our opinions? Do you know how you have made the majority of parents in your district feel by turning your backs on them in this way? I'll tell you, we feel sick, betrayed, ignored, silenced, and honestly, a little embarrassed. To make us feel like we actually had a say on what goes on in an institution that houses our babies for the better hours of every day, 5 days a week, and then blatantly choose to do the opposite just days after attesting that you agreed with us? In the midst of this ridiculous clown show, we were all being forced to play a part in every single day for the last 17 months. We'd finally felt like we could remove the red noses and maybe just take a front seat for a while. We felt like we were finally about to take our power back. I'm not here to discuss exemptions with you. I'm not here to remind you that putting a Petri dish on a child's face for a sickness they are not affected by and do not categorically transmit is child abuse. I'm not even here to tell you that there are several districts whose superintendents have publicly stated that they will not enforce this mandate. I won't even shame and embarrass and silence you the way you have to the majority of people who pay your bills. I don't want to try to convince you that prevaricating is a pathetic way to make parents feel as though their children are in the right hands for 7 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm only here to let the majority know I stand with them, that there are so many of us who know that we can no longer trust the people we elected to be in charge, nor those who've been put in positions to basically raise our babies. We cannot trust that they will protect our children, care for them, always do what's in their best interest, or respect their health and bodily autonomy. You know what else I worry about? I worry that if our children become so used to just obeying authoritative figures who clearly don't have their best interest in mind, how will they ever defend themselves from worse kinds of predators? How will my child, who knows he is not sick, but is told by his teacher to put a cloth over his mouth that wouldn't do a single thing to protect him or anyone else anyway, reconcile in his mind when another person in a position of power does something more nefarious and tells him to keep it a secret or else? I just think it is so ironic that we are normalizing covering a child's mouth, silencing them. Honestly, our compliance is what got us here. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Yeah, I know, the leading scientists who we're all just finding out are actually the ones who funded the lab this creepy virus was created and couldn't figure out whether we should wear masks or not, whether substantiated therapeutics were safe, who literally told us that it was safe to protest racial inequality by the hundreds because it posed a bigger risk to public health than COVID-19, are the ones we should trust with the safety measures for our babies. The same people whose guidelines instructed one of my clients to keep her veteran father's body in a freezer for months until it was safe to bury him with an attendance cap while they attended 3 separate memorial services for George Floyd with thousands in attendance. I mean, come on. Why are we still listening to these lunatics? They do not care about you, not me, not our babies. If they cared, they'd mandate jumping jacks and meditation. There wouldn't be a commercial every 6 minutes telling you that if you've taken and suffered from a medication they approved of 6 years ago, you could be eligible for compensation. There wouldn't be carcinogenic dyes in the food they sell in our grocery stores. Stop believing people who hurt us. Stop trusting people who tax you to death and then again after you die. Stop thinking that anyone knows better than you what's best for your babies. They've got us all so dependent on their bought and paid for research and brainwashed by their propaganda. I'm old enough to remember the Got Milk campaign. Do you know there are 50 million pus cells in 1 cup of milk? But I'm sure nobody knew that before they plastered the school hallways with pictures of milk mustaches and made them a staple on my lunch tray every day. Wish someone would have told me dairy was a main cause of my bronchial flare-ups that landed me in the hospital for the majority of my childhood. Don't worry about it, though. They made their money and the hospitals made theirs. These people are evil. Evil. Stop listening to them. Do not comply with baseless mandates. Do not allow yourselves to be gaslit on a daily basis by the ever-changing facts of the nefarious few. Do not make your children believe they have to listen to a mandate that not only makes no sense, but makes them uncomfortable. Do not teach them that all non-compliance is dangerous defiance. Do not send them to a building that follows an order where a spit and booger-filled cloth is needed to be placed on their breathing holes to protect them from a virus that doesn't even affect them. Change the way we are programmed to think, because this is where it's gotten us. And because I believe you're actually a reasonable group, I ask you, when and how do you think this ends? What's the next mandate? When does it become your job to protect these kids? Face it, if the TV didn't tell you, nobody would know COVID-19 was a thing. Our children are entitled to an education, and that does not change whether they have a dirty rag on their beautiful little faces or not. That's it.
That's it. Thank you very much. At this time, Corey Gross. Is Corey here? Corey Gross?
I don't see her.
Don't see her?
No.
Liz Salvador.
Hi, my name is Liz Salvador, and I have a child at Trafford Middle, an 8th grader, and I live at 1033
And
Paintertown.
what's your address, please?
1033 Paintertown Road.
Thank you.
Parents have already completed the survey, and a majority of the parents voted to have masks optional, and the school board followed suit, and I commend the board on their decision. I want to discuss and respectfully request that the board looks to the Constitution and state law and realize that your rights as an elected official are being taken away. Governor Wolf is walking a fine line legally. He's trying to exercise his powers that have been limited by the constitutional amendment that we voted on and passed in May and was implemented in June. The governor is trying to issue a mandate without an emergency order, and he is trying to use the cover of a 1955 Disease Act, which was created for an outbreak of an STD. This act that he is employing is for sick people. It doesn't apply for people who are not sick. At the end of his announcement, I don't know if anybody else seen this, but a reporter asked him if he was going to enforce the order. He responded, no. That tells me that the legality of it is in question.
Right.
The governor wants to coerce the masks in school without using the emergency order. Constitutionally, the only way this can be forced is through an emergency order, which can't exceed 3 weeks. This is not how the United States work, nor is it how Pennsylvania works. Pennsylvania has always been about individual rights and local governing bodies. The Pennsylvania Constitution of 1968 makes that point in several ways. The Department of Health has based its authority on Section 5 of the Disease Prevention and Control Law relating to disease control measures for viral outbreaks. The laws do give the Department of Health the authority to issue control measures for viral outbreaks. However, all the language in that law indicated that these laws are intended to be done at a local level. The DOH only has authorities over schools where there has been an outbreak. That control measure must be limited and for an appropriately short duration. This current order theoretically could last forever. Both the United States and Pennsylvania Constitution require that individual rights be narrowly restricted by the government. The current mask mandate is likely beyond the scope of what would be lawful. The Department of Health cannot tell school boards what to do. The Pennsylvania School Code gives the school board very broad authority to determine what happens in their respective districts. There is nothing in Pennsylvania laws that states the Department of Health can overrule a specific decision of a school district based on specific local conditions. A lot of people have asked me today why I do this. Even friends and family question my antics. But nobody questioned me when I signed up for the military at 18 to fight for our country's rights. Or going to Iraq to fight for another country's freedoms. Nobody questions my current job to advocate for our nation's veterans on Capitol Hill. I spend time away from my family every month to ensure our states and federal lawmakers pass certain bills for our veterans and their families. So I refuse to stand here in my town and have my child's rights taken away from her because people on the board are afraid to stand up. Well, we the people are not afraid. With that, I am respectfully requesting that the board upholds its prior decision to have masks optional and continue to push back against unlawful mandates, current and future. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This time, Mr. Ryan Sinceri.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Sinceri. I'm at 2023 Austin Court, Irwin, PA 15642. I'm affiliated with the parents of Penn Trafford who are for optional masking. Members of the school board, first and foremost, I appreciate your efforts over the last few days, as I'm sure they've been as trying for you as they have been for me and my family. You may have heard we held a peaceful protest today. Some of you were there. Contrary to what has been told on certain social media accounts, I believe that all of you in attendance can admit that it was a peaceful protest in fact. I appreciate Dr. Harris stating that, putting the rumors and lies to bed. I'm proud of all of these people that were willing to stand up today for the others who won't. Tom Wolf is a coward. Tom Wolf is a liar. Tom Wolf is a tyrant. This is not an opinion. This is a fact, substantiated by his actions over the last few months. In fact, in mid-May, Tom Wolf was stripped via vote of his emergency orders. He could only make an emergency order that would last 3 weeks maximum before it ended. After that vote outcome, Tom Wolf was silent. We thought we had silenced him for good. On Tuesday, the 27th of July, he came out of hibernation, announcing there would be no mask mandate. He made us comfortable. We thought our democracy had prevailed. In the meantime, he sinisterly plotted while finding an obscure loophole from 1929. Just as school started, he pulled a fast one. Our PA legislators didn't even see it coming. He had his minister at the Department of Health declare a mandate, as the law reads, to protect the health of the people of this Commonwealth and to determine and employ the most efficient and practical means for the prevention and suppression of disease. I reiterate, PA voted against this in May. We won, and yet we are still doing this, what they were supposed to be legally stripped of doing. We also voted against this here in our district. Approximately 70%, we've heard that a lot tonight, of the school surveyed said the mask should be optional. You voted 8-0 just a few weeks ago. 8-0. What happened? We are not forcing people to take off their masks. We never have. We just want our children to have the constitutional right to choose not to wear a mask. I've had conversations with some of you. You looked me in my eyes and stated, we will only do what's mandated. In Section 3 of the order, it mentions exceptions. Exceptions do not need a doctor's note. The order plainly states, it is recommended to follow 504. Recommended, not mandated. 504 states you need an existing condition and a doctor's note. Again, 504 is recommended, not mandated. You have an out. It's not on the government. It's not on the government, it's on you. You can simply ask parents for an exception note, as many other districts are. There are plenty of studies to back health deficiencies wearing a mask can cause. Instead, you went back on your word and moved the goalpost. The excuse being, the solicitor is advising us to do so. We didn't vote for the solicitor, we voted for you. In closing, the history books write about brave men and women who stand up in the face of tyranny. I implore you to be those people. Until you do, you've lost the trust of many more than those who you see before you tonight. The time has come to stand up. Why won't you stand up with us? Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, Ella Morocco, please, come up.
My name is Ella Morocco, and I'm a junior at Penn Trafford High School, and I'm also the only one that's going to be speaking here from my grade or from my school.
Excuse me, can you speak more into the mic? I don't know if everybody can hear. Yeah, please speak into the mic a little bit better.
My name is Ella Morocco, and I'm in 11th grade, and COVID started when I was a freshman, and I have not had 1 year of normalcy. I'm coming to you today not with anger, but with kindness, because I know that this is hard for everyone. And I also know that anger is just a byproduct of being hurt. And I have been hurt, and I know all of you have been hurt too. But I want to be the bigger person here, and I know that coming to you with anger in my heart will not let you listen to me. It will only make you hurt, and it will make you angry. I didn't know what I was going to talk about when I got up here. But now I do, because I know I need to talk about what happened here. So I'm going to talk about my day that I had today, my first day back from my holiday weekend. I took 2 speech and debate classes. I know exactly how to stand at a podium. I know to look you in the eye and not to use filler words, and I know that if I look up to my right, I will be looking at you and trying to deceive you. But I'm looking directly at you, and I'm looking into your eyes, and I'm asking you to help us. This morning at 6:30, I boarded my bus with my brother. He is 14. We got to the school, we got off our bus, and we stood in front of our school, and we peacefully protested. Not a word came out of my mouth, I just stood there. As I stood there, Penn Trafford's no bullying policy went to crap. People were screaming, "F you, go home. Why are you here? You don't matter." I had bus drivers giving me boos and thumbs down and flipping me off, grown adults. And I know that's not what you want, but that is what it's come to. I got off my bus with my brother. He's 14. Both of us have been Student of the Month. My dad served in the military. He spoke, Mike Morocco. He went to school here. After we got off of our bus, my brother went and was denied an education because he couldn't put on a mask. We knew that was going to happen. We expected it. I walked into my school. As soon as I walked into my school, there were teachers lined up and down the hallway. You know what the first words that came out of their mouth was? It wasn't "good morning." It wasn't "how was your weekend?" It wasn't "nice to see you, Mrs. Morocco, I missed you in class today." It was "put your mask up or you're going to get kicked out of the school." And I walked down the hallway. And the only thing keeping me in this school was the fear that if I didn't put my mask on, I wouldn't be able to play in my field hockey game that I've been on varsity for 3 years in a row now. I wasn't going to be able to start. And You know, my dad mentioned having the bare minimum. I did the bare minimum today. I showed up for the least amount I had to, just so that I could start in my game, and I went home. I have never been in trouble with the law. I've never been reprimanded by a teacher. I have been a high honor roll student my entire life. And today, when I walked into Penn Trafford High School with all of my friends whose faces I couldn't see, whose teachers' faces I couldn't see, who I couldn't hear, I felt like a prisoner. There was nothing stated in the mandate that I had to sit every other seat. And yet when I went to lunch, and I sat with my friends, there was a man. I don't know who he is. I couldn't see his face. And he rolled his eyes, and he said, "It is not that hard. You must move over. You are not allowed to sit here." I wonder what freedom is taken from me then, and where in the mandate that you guys are enforcing, by force, it says that I was purposely told to move. My father, last year, took fire in the fetal position under his bed, fighting for other people's rights in other countries because we thought we had them here. When I walked into that school, you wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have known we were Penn Trafford. You wouldn't even have known the faculty walking down the hallway. You couldn't see them. It was brought up that our class sizes, our classroom sizes, I should say, they're not able to hold the maximum 6 feet or 3 feet distance, which is why we can't quarantine. That's because we're not meant to live like this. I am 16 years old. My brother was 14 years old, and he was turned away from the school. And I am not angry at you. I love you guys, and I feel for you. And I know that when I go home, I have parents who back me up. My dad who spoke up here, and my mom, they are constantly backing me up. They're backing my brother. They're providing rides to kids who don't have them back home because they were denied an education today. The center of my life is Jesus Christ. I have gone through depression. I have gone through bullying. And it will continue to happen. And I'm okay with it because the road is narrow and few will follow it. And that is something that I knew when I was a Christian that I signed up for. And I know that some of you think the same way. And I am asking you today to please find it in your hearts, not for politics. This isn't about politics. This is about control. And I'm asking you as a student, as a 16-year-old girl with a 14-year-old brother and a 12-year-old sister, to please fight not for the money that the school is having, not for the new football gym that may or may not be put in. I'm asking you to fight for us because it's the right thing to do and because we are Penn Trafford and we are the Warriors. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And our last speaker, Robert Clayton. Robert?
Good evening. My name's Robert Clayton. I live at 1292 Harrison City Export Road in Jeanette. I had some prepared marks here tonight, but I don't know that it makes any sense to give these prepared mark statistics or anything like that. We've heard a lot of great comments tonight. Ella is a prime example of what's wrong with what's going on in this public school today. Me and my wife have been homeschool parents for the last 6 and 8 years to our daughter and our son. We've had our kids go to Liberty Online University from first grade to 8th grade and 6th grade. Very, very difficult decision to make to send them to public school. I think the school system is broken, it's flawed, and it's unhelpful to our young people. That being said, my 6th grader and my 8th grader wanted to come to school this year. When the mask mandate was voted on and it was respected, I thought, man, I thought for a minute we had a fighting chance. But today was the worst day of the school year for me personally, because my kids have to go and put up with the nonsense that I've been protecting them from for 6 and 8 years. I ask you guys, for students like Ella, her 14-year-old, and her 12-year-old sister, have common sense. 2 weeks started out 17 months ago. When does it end? When does it make sense to say enough is enough? 4 of the people sitting on the stage tonight, every time they spoke, removed their mask. It's your job to enforce it. Mr. Leonard, as we sit here right now, practices horrible masking use by not having his nose covered as we sit here. That's how ironic this is. It's the sadness of what's going on. And what's sadder is you guys are perpetrating this upon our own kids, upon the kids that you're here to educate and teach. Morally, it's wrong. Scientifically, it's absurd. And you guys are all educated, I assume. Right? Am I wrong here? The survival rate for kids with COVID is over 99.5%. My kids have a better chance of dying when I drive into McDonald's, which I wouldn't do. But this is where we're at. I ask you guys to have common sense. Give us the option. Give us the option. Liberty University's program was excellent for our kids. If I would have known 7 days into this school year that I was going to force my kids, who I tell every day, don't put on a mask no matter where you go. It's your choice. It's your option. Don't put up with the nonsense of the store clerks or anyone else. You don't have to wear these masks. Don't be a prisoner behind a mask. God forbid, my son's learning Spanish. He can't even see the lips, the mouth movement of the mouth of their teacher now. I mean, how absurd is this? And yet, here we are, the school board pulling off their mask to speak to us, putting it back on for, I don't even know what reason. You guys know better than this. What I'll say at the end of this is, please consider what we're saying. Local government is best when it's done locally. The only remark that I will read off paper, because I don't want to screw it up, is those who give up essential liberty for the purchase of little safety deserve neither liberty or safety. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tonight's meeting is not a forum or a debate. It's an opportunity to speak, to listen, for us to appreciate each other. What a proud community. The speakers, you've done an excellent job, and by respecting each other, we got to hear each other. And I think that's just exemplary of our community, and especially for one of our students to get up like that. God bless you. It was wonderful. Really. As awkward as it sounds, you may realize you're speaking to the choir in a lot of ways. But at this time, I'd like to ask if any board member would like to make a comment of any way, shape, or form. And again, this is not a debate forum. Please understand that. We give everybody a chance to speak, and I'd like to, if any board member, Dr. Harris, if you'd like to say anything, otherwise we'll be adjourning.
I still have to go through
Okay.
what's on the agenda for next week, please.
Mr. Petrucci, maybe we can go back to your section we missed. I kind of jumped over that so we can get our speakers in. Mr. Petrucci? And Mr. Petrucci is with the Career Center, Westmoreland County.
For the benefit of the audience, my name is Nick Petrucci, and I'm the Penn Trafford.
Well, that's nice to know you really want to listen. Good. That's great. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? I'll turn it down now. Back it up. My name is Nick Petrucci. I'm a Penn Trafford representative to Career Technology Center in Westmoreland County. Central Career Tech, located in Newstand, PA. We're one of 9 school districts serviced the, the old name was VOTEC. And we have approximately over 100 of our senior high school kids, 114 I believe it is, now enrolled at Career Tech. And the jobs they're receiving at Career Tech, the employment rate is over 90%. It's very beneficial, and it's been very nicely part of it. Now I'll give you my quick report here. We met last Thursday, the 2nd, and my background being a special education teacher at Norman Senior High School for 36 years. I placed I taught 3 areas of special ed, the trainable, the educable, and the multi-handicap. And I placed them on jobs for 36 years, and for a lot of frustration, but a lot of success too. And so now, because of my persistence, we're now starting a service occupation class for all the kids who are in the same category. They're going to Career Tech and using the Career Tech as their apprenticeship so they can get gainful employment. And I always told them is keep them off SSI because they're better off paying tax than they are living off taxes. Okay. Now, at the meeting, we had August 18th, we met with Mr. Alexander Novikov, who we just hired. The guy lives in Penn Trafford, now became the father of 4. And we met, and also by way of Zoom, we met with 2 professors from the University of Pittsburgh to implement this program at VOTEC. And it was a very enlightening meeting, and we lasted for about 45 minutes. And that is, this will be developed a little further. I hope to get it off the ground by the middle of this first semester, but well, we'll just see how the things work out right now. It looks promising out. Okay, another thing we did, we hired a plumbing teacher named Cody Krepo, and his salary is $54,000 a year. We hired 2 paraprofessionals, Lindsay Schulte and Kimberly Raviart, a salary of $24,000 a year. Let me see what else I got here. Okay. Oh yeah, instituting a driver's education program for that anybody that the 9 school districts that want to enroll in a driver's education program. Driver's ed has died out considerably. That's how I got my driver's license back in 1960. See how old I am. But that died out for economic purposes. But now Career Tech is going to start offering a driver's ed program. Okay, and our next meeting is October the 7th, and I'll have another report again at our next meeting. That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Petrucci. At this time, Dr. Harris?
For other items for next week on the agenda, I am sorry, athletics and, items on our agenda to approve next week include athletics and extracurricular, improve extracurricular personnel, approve a cheerleading trip. Under budget and finance, approve proposed activities and budgets for student organizations. Under buildings and grounds and safety, approve a roofing project. Under personnel curriculum, approve the AFJR OTC agreement. Approve personnel agenda. Under policy, public relations, legislative, Title II, give final approval to board policies and admin regulations. And that is it.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. Again, just one more time, if any of the board members would like to make a comment or anything of that sort. All right. Make it short.
You know me. Just a couple quick comments. For one, I apologize for what people considered my poor mask etiquette. I'm quite positive the fact whether I had a mask on or not had no effect on anybody here or anybody close to me. I am a COVID survivor. I had it very bad, and I've had my antibodies tested. I think that's best way to get immunity. I think that's probably the only protection, but these are my personal opinions, not my school board opinions. But I apologize if I offended anybody because I wasn't wearing this right. I don't wear it enough to know how to wear it right, I guess. So.
Thank you so much. All right, and at this time, we're going to call for an adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I have a question. Is that possible from the peanut gallery to have a question?
If no one has just one more question, please. Then we'll come down in the audience and talk to y'all.
Yeah, just one question for the group, because I think you have to do it before you adjourn. I know Franklin Regional has kind of extended things out until Friday for the mass optional, and I think that's the only right thing to do for everyone in this room, so we can get our affairs in order, because we've had no time to do so, because everyone we've tried to get in contact over the Labor Day weekend for whatever move we want to do next, we were unavailable to do so, because no one's open during the Labor Day weekend. So with that being said, I ask that you vote tonight to have the mask optional at least until Friday.
I'm going to pass on that, Dr. Harris. I'm sorry, Christine, do you want to respond? You said we can't do that? I'm sorry.
I have no opinion on the motion. The board, there's a new law that went into effect that requires their motions to be on the agenda. They don't have such a motion on the agenda, and that's the reason.
I'm sorry, that's also what caused the trouble, if you recall. It was Butler, I believe, had a problem where they had a school board controversy on option, non-option, and it was a legal technicality. It wasn't on the agenda, so the vote was not legal. And that caused a quite a...
Just like the mandate we're doing is not
Well,
right?
I'm sorry to say that. That's interpretation. Well, thank you.
In private,
Yeah.
and adjourn yourselves and have a meeting and discuss that.
Well, that's something.
We're used to getting emails last minute and things change for our children. So have at it all night and get
Thank
it
you.
figured out.
Franklin Regional already did it.
Okay. At this time, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved. Do I have a second? And a question? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Okay, good night. Meeting adjourned.